So the Temane and Pande gas fields and the central processing facility were developed as an unincorporated joint venture. Sasol has an effective controlling stake by way of its 70% shareholding. The Mozambican government has an effective 25% stake directly and indirectly via ENH, giving it significant influence over the company. The 5% stake of the IFC appears to support the political umbrella a development finance institution can bring. The shareholder agreement for ROMPCO between Sasol, iGas and CMG is characterized by the following key features. There are two classes of shares, namely Class A ordinary shares and Class B preference shares. A shares each carry 1 vote and they were issued at 1 cent par value, and they were not eligible to enjoy any dividends declared by ROMPCO. Each B share exercises 10 votes at annual general meetings, except where legislation requires a special resolution and for specified reserved matters as detailed in the shareholder agreement. The subscribers to the A shares were iGas and CMG in equal proportion. Now, the shareholder agreement prohibits the transfer of these shares to any other party, ensuring that whilst the respective stake in A shares may change, the shareholders will always and will continue to be iGas and CMG. This resulted in stability in terms of the equity participants in the transaction. The issue of 5 million A shares raised equity amounting to roughly 50 million, with iGas and CMG acquiring call options to 25% of the B shares each as a result of this subscription. Sasol Gas Holdings was the sole subscriber to the 10 million non-par value B shares, injecting an effective 10 million equity into this class. Total votes for both classes of shares amounted to 150 million. Of these, Sasol Gas Holdings exercised 100 million, iGas 25 million, and CMG 25 million. That was at the inception of the shareholder agreement and prior to the latter two companies exercising their call option. The effect of this was manifold. Firstly, as the lead investor, it entrenched Sasol's control of ROMPCO by way of an effective 66% controlling vote. Now, this arrangement facilitated the participation of these two state representative companies in the project from its inception, but at the same time, Mozambique and South Africa at inception had to outlay very little by way of capital into ROMPCO. Now, whilst the participation by way of capital contribution was relatively limited in the initial years, the call option to purchase B shares in future years meant that this increased significantly. This was important to align the private sector investors' interests with those of the host governments. So the exercise of the call option on the B shares also allowed Sasol to enjoy a liquidity event and to reduce the capital invested in the project, thus reducing its exposure and also reducing its risk in the venture.